Tony Khan firing people. We talked about this last week. But,
He never fired me.
Are you a secret double agent for Tony Khan?
I am. Yeah, I was sitting in the back seat of the limousine one time, and he said something. I said, "Let me tell you something, Tony. You might tell your little minions out there that you're not telling me that." So I reached over and just drew my hand back like I was going to hit him. He started crying.
He feared for his life.
I said, "No." I said, "Tony, I'm just kidding anyway." But I think Tony is, and I like him. I met him one time. I like him. I'm just making a joke about him, but man, grow some balls and handle that group.
Well, he did to a point for the first time. So a couple of, less than 2 weeks ago, he did a mass firing, like WWE used to do. Fired 10 people. Anyway, a few people, said how disappointed they were. I think one said he probably wasn't going to pursue wrestling anymore after that. So, but a tag team.
Who said they weren't going to pursue wrestling?
I can't remember. It was
there's a reason for that, because they're the shits.
Yeah, well,
they can't get a job.
Yeah, most likely. But there's a tag team out there called the Boys. They are associated with Dalton Castle in Ring of Honor. So therefore, they're on Ring of Honor. Therefore, barely anyone's watching them. But they were dropped by Tony Khan before Ring of Honor's biggest show of the year, Supercard of Honor. And this seemed to come out of left field because Dalton Castle had a match on the show. And the Boys were meant to interfere, I suspect, on the show. They're meant to be part of the show. Then they get fired. Tony Khan says that they were fired for missing shots, which is the cardinal sin of professional wrestling. You cannot miss something you're advertised for. But here's the thing. The Boys came out and said, yes, we missed that show, but we were given the runaround by AEW, by the office in AEW, the booking department, saying that we wanted a change from like Hendersonville to Nashville. I've lost where I am in the thing, so I'm just doing this off the top of my head, or the opposite way around. And then
it was Knoxville to Nashville.
Knoxville to Nashville, there you go. And they were given the runaround, so they didn't hear back from AEW, so they assumed they were off the show. And I thought, reading that, well, you should have followed up. And
yeah, they should have.
They sent reams of text messages, reams of emails to different people in different departments in AEW, trying to clarify if they were going to this show, and if they were, which airport are they flying out to. And then the next thing they know, they're fired. It's like, what's going on?
That may be a little bit of a legal deal, if they have all the paper to back up that they did try to contact people, and yet nobody told them. So what are they to believe?
I believe the Boys. I saw a lot of paperwork.
Well, I think I would seek a legal remedy there. You like that word, remedy?
I like a remedy. Tony Khan publicly stated his issues with allowing talent to take third-party bookings as well, so this is something different. There's a double-edged sword here. When we book independent shows, injuries can happen, and there's a risk to that. And they can affect the wrestler's career, and frankly, here in AEW, it changes our plans, or in Ring of Honor, it can change our plans when the talent get injured here, and by the same token, it changes our plans when people get injured on the outside. The reason I'm bringing this up is because one of the fired wrestlers, Anthony Henry, who is mostly featured on Ring of Honor, caught a broken jaw working an indie event, and ended up as one of the 10 AEW talent casualties.
Working an indie event or an India event?
Independent wrestling event.
Okay, I thought you said India.
No, he wasn't wearing a
turban. Well, hell, he should have been stomped for taking that shot.
Yeah. So, yeah, he works an independent wrestling event and then gets a broken jaw. Where do you stand on this? Tony Khan lets it happen, but then he fires somebody if they get injured.
Well, you can't do that. You're either going to pick it up the whole time or you're not. So just say they can't work indie shots. And if they get hurt, well, that's according to what he's paying them too. If he's paying them well enough to not make the indie shot, yeah, they shouldn't make it. But, and Tony has a point here too. If you get hurt on the indie shot, we're not responsible. And I agree with that too, but you allowed them to take it and they get hurt. So I don't know how you root on that. Well, they need to revisit that and come up with another rule.
We've already told the story. It's in the archives. But you had the similar thing in Puerto Rico, IWA, and then you had Tiger Ali Singh come over. Mm-hmm. And he was actually sent by the WWF, so it's not exactly the same. Yes. but then he gets injured, sues the company, they fire him, or I think they fire him, and then he tries to sue the company one way or another. And it just seems like a legal minefield to allow these physical third-party bookings rather than just signings or something.
Well, I think they wanted to involve me in the suit, and I would be a defendant. And I told them right quick, no, I didn't send him here. You guys sent him here, and you wanted him to get experience. I was giving him experience. I was doing the main part of this. I told him, I said, you guys hadn't given me a dime for this. You want me to train these guys, yet you want me to bring them down here and book them and train them and teach them, but yet at the same time, you didn't give me a nickel. And me and Jim Ross went round and round about that one day, and he said, well, Dutchman. And I said, well, Jimbo, and we'll see what he goes. And I ended up talking to the lawyer, because I would never take his calls. What's your main lawyer up there? What was his name? He's not there anymore.
Yeah, he's just retired. I have this.
What was it?
Not Jim something.
But he handled all the suits. Yeah. But he called me up, and finally, I took the call.
Jerry McDivitt. There we go.
McDivitt called me up. Dutch, you're a hard man to get a hold of. Now, lawyer talk. I said, well, yeah, maybe I don't want to talk to you. He said, well, I was kind of figuring that. But he said, listen, we need some help from you. I says, in what? We need you to come up here to Stanford. I said, to do what? To testify. And now they wanted me to be on their side now. I said, testify for what? He said, on behalf of WWE, we need you. I said, but when is it? And he told me. And I said, well, okay, well, I'm working then. I'm running active shows and doing TVs and all. And he said, well, that'll have to wait. Wait a minute. I said, what are you going to pay me? He said, oh, we can't pay you, because legally, if they found out we paid you, we'd be at whatever, and we can't do it. I said, so Jerry, this is what you want me to do. You want me to leave my job down here to where I'm only working 3 days a week anyway, but I'm booking and I'm doing other things the other days. You want me to leave to come up there to Stanford and sit around for a week and no pay, because I won't get any pay down here, but you don't want to give me any pay. And I says, I don't think I can do that. And he says, well, I'm going to give you a choice. You either come up here, or we're going to send you a subpoena. When he said subpoena, that's an obligation to attend. So I said, let me tell you one thing, Jerry. Okay, let's do this. Why don't you send me a subpoena and bring me up there? And don't even think about deposing me, because I'm not going to do it. And then put me on the stand. Why don't you try that? And he knew I was pissed off. And he thought a minute, and he said, okay, Dutch, we'll talk to you later. And hung the phone up, which meant that he put me up there. I'm pissed off anyway. I'm going to say everything Tiger Jeet Singh and his daddy said. And I'm going to bury WWE because I'm fucking pissed at him. Hate to use the word, but yeah, they want me to drop everything for them to where they did nothing for me. They would pay a regular guy off the street. If he's going to train those guys, they would pay him at least $1,500 a week. I didn't get 1,500 pennies. I got nothing. And I thought, well, I'm not doing it, period. I'm not that much of a damn trying to get in good with you guys type. You either pay me or I'm not coming. And that's it.
And they got their own back on you by sending you David Flair a couple of years later. Before,
well, I don't know. It was about the same time.
It was, I think David Flair was a couple of years later after that.
But David wasn't sent by WWE.
Oh, he was sent by Rick, wasn't he?
He was sent by Rick because he called me up, and that line bastard. I'm looking for a place to send my kid. I said, well, I guess I could find
to the gym. Just could have sent him there first.
Yeah.
That would have helped.
And he said, listen, if you do this is his exact words. It's the only reason I did it. He says, if you'll book him 6 months I will give you 2 dates on me. Well, 2 dates was 2 more dates than we'd ever had on him, really, because he was just completely out of the running with anybody I could book. So I booked him for, I don't know, about 3 months.
We looked at this. It was longer than you thought. It was something like 6 to 8. He was there
Well,
for, he was there for an upsettingly long
but
time.
I'm saying the 3 months is when he started bitching. And he didn't want to do this, and he didn't want to do the strut from his daddy, and he didn't want to. I said, well, yeah, that's what I think you need to do it. And he'd go out there and do it, but half-ass. So finally, he got pissed off one day, and I think Rick told him, just pack up and go, leave. And he did. Packed up, left. I didn't hear anything from him and never heard another thing from Rick. He just left. So I booked this kid as a favor to Rick and got stung on it. I mean, it didn't hurt me that bad. You couldn't have drawn nothing with him. I mean, with Rick, with the kid, he was getting better, but he's the type that you put on a card and you let the people in free. And then after his match, you charge them to get out. They were so and he wasn't that bad. He could have been, but he didn't want to be there. He had his girlfriend with him. They didn't like it. This, that, and the other. And I got tired of it too. So David, I think, is out of the professional wrestling business now. I don't know what he's doing, but whatever he's doing, maybe he's not bothering me.
Just to bring it back briefly with the AEW. So it's tough for Tony Khan in this sense because he can attract certain big name talents because of the lighter, the less amount of dates, but also because talent to a point have freedom to work other promotions as well, like CMLL, which is a big one recently with Bryan Danielson and Blue Panther, or New Japan, or GCW, or whatever. So it's a sort of double-edged sword that, he attracts talent and then allows them to do these indie dates here with approval. Okay. But then if one gets injured, then what do you do then?
Yeah. Okay, he sends talent to Japan. That's kind of, I scratch your back if you scratch my back deal, because they have talent to send back. Having them work a regular little independent show, even though they might have got, I don't know, great money for it. I mean, they're the star on the show, and if they get hurt, like you say, who pays who and when? He's got a contract, and if they know before they're going that if you go there and you get hurt, with the veterans it doesn't much matter. With the young guys, it does matter because they don't know, and they might go and agree to do all kind of crazy stuff, but they're amusing themselves. Because they're not going to sell any more tickets once they get there. But, I mean, that's up to Tony. He needs to straighten that out.